So Spanish River Church, that was, your original question. They are the church that planted us.
Okay.
And David Nicholas was the original planter of Spanish River and then stayed there like 40 plus years or however long, so he did exactly kind of like what we're doing now, is planted, stayed, but then Spanish River and he and his wife Nori, they gave themselves to church planting, even though they were going to.
Is he the founder of the ministry? And Spanish River, from what I understand, has planted hundreds and hundreds of churches.
Yeah, they're sort of probably under the radar. Like I'd say probably, I don't know the numbers, but I'm going to say top 5 like that we know of in our time. It's just that they do it in such a way where you're like, oh, you're a Spanish River plant. Oh, you're a but you wouldn't know because everybody gets to wear a different jersey.
Yeah.
And they just fund and
they don't need the credit or the recognition. Right. They're wanting to see the job done. I love that. So we're a story of that, right? So we're about 10 miles away, probably door to door, from Spanish River Church. And what I was told, first of all, I went in there, worked for the school, then I worked for the church for a couple of years, and I said, listen, I'm not gonna plant a church. Like, I know we're into that. Like, that was our culture there, but like, I'm not that. Specifically told my supervisor that. And then about 2.5, 3 years later, I'm in the same office feeling like, man, I have to tell you something. And so when I told him that I was feeling called to church plant in Delray, the response from the church was pretty much take whoever you want, and we will fund you for multiple years and like make sure that you're healthy. And so that's what I left with. No wonder they planted so many churches. That's positive, just enforcement of the vision.
And dude, we're like 10 miles away, so it's not like we're like saying, oh, we're going to Jacksonville,
right?
Or we're going to. It's like, and I coached people's kids. Like I got saved at Spanish River, so again, like I'm one of their like sons, if you will, and they weren't. They were just so open-handed, even though I was going to plant like in the neighborhood. So it's like, that's what I learned.
So how did that affect you right now? Now that you are pastoring, you planted here, now you have a congregation, you're pastoring, in the role. How do you keep that up, that culture of like, okay, I want to embrace that. I've learned that. I've accepted it. Like now, what are the things that you do now to pass that culture on in your church?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's something that like I feel like God's put in my heart is like, we win by giving it away. So our definition of winning is how fast and healthy we can give it away. And so what I mean by that is like our resources to see other, specifically we're talking about church plants thrive. And so some of the things that we do, and maybe one thing that we haven't done, I thought that to be a church planting church, you would have to see the story of like this guy that, comes into your church, he's a total wreck, he gets saved, you build him up, and then you send him out and like a group of people go with him. That's what a church planting does.
Because that was sort of your story.
Well, exactly.
Going up into church, getting discipled, getting on staff.
Totally. Like that to me is the hallmark story of church planting. But here's the deal: 12 years in, and it's never happened. So there was a time when I was kind of disillusioned. Like what's up, man? Like, why are we not being able to reproduce what we were? And I think what the Lord has shown me is kind of the same thing he's shown me through foster care, because we're foster now adoptive parents, is like, you don't have to like actually do what we did in order to participate in the foster care movement. There's a lot of venues to help support this move of God, and church planting is the same way. You don't have to like completely reproduce what you are in order to be a part. So for example, I've got the hat on my head is 11th Element, and that is a church planting movement of somebody who goes into CrossFits and wants to see churches planted.
Oh, dang. Do you have to do CrossFit when you go in, though?
You do.
You want to come to church here? Let's do some kips. What's it called when they flip? It's called kips, right?
I'm not a part of a gym like that, so I don't know.
I think we all went into a lane that we don't swim in normally.
No. But we love Jesus and 11th Element.
That's right.
It's a cool hat too.
Yeah. And if you can see me, you can see I haven't hit a lot of CrossFits. So, but here's the deal.
He looks fit, by the way. You look fit.
Yeah, maybe on
the
running side, without the cross.
All right.
But here's the deal. So Logan came to us, and Logan was the youth pastor actually at Spanish River. So it's not a guy that like came up in our church and things like that. But what made sense was for him to do a residency with us, because we were a lot closer to having planted than Spanish River at the time. Spanish River was like, let's say, 35 years old, 40 years old. Yep. We at the time were like 8 or 9. And so here's just the generosity and the goodness of God in like the John 17, being worked out. It's like, so he came to us, did about, I forget if it was about a year or whatever, residency with us. Actually, he had started the plant, so it was almost like in process. And we were able to, so something specific, we gave him a year residency, which was a lot of like my time, and so I just tried to talk to him and love him and care for his heart and share some wisdom along the way. And so there was that. Then we supported him, so it was financial, it was relational. We championed him at our church. So he preached and people heard his story, and it was like, hey, go to 11th Element and things like that. And then, what we'll always say, especially with a local church, is if you feel called to plant, go with him. Like go. That would be awesome. We'd celebrate that. And so anyways, those are some things that we've done with like 11th Element. With other church plants, we're part of, a network, Acts 29. And so we were able to support.
I've heard of them. Have you heard of them, Daniel? Acts 29?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Little known fact again about Spanish River.
Chapters in Acts though? I'm just kidding.
There's 28. That's why
because it's 29 and it's the last one. Yeah.
But
I'm gonna drop a knowledge bomb on you.
Yeah, dude.
Right,
I know this knowledge bomb.
So go ahead, Doctor. One of the co-founders of Acts 29 was David Nicholas. The
crazy.
Planting.
So Spanish River, this church that you're from, was one of the founding.
That is correct.
Members. Okay.
But again,
it's all coming together.
It kind of goes with the Spanish River vibe. It's like that not a ton of people know that.
I think it's crazy how you would come into it, be part of a church, like you said, and say to the person, literally say to them, I have no desire to do this. I know you're a church planting church. First of all, you knew they were a church planting church.
Yeah, I grew up in it. Got saved there.
I don't want to do this. And then 3 years later, you're out planting a church.
Yeah.
So the culture, what that says to me was the culture was so strong about church planting that people caught that vision.
That's good.
And that's what I want.